So I am suing my ex-landlord in Louisville, Kentucky, 319 Iowa Avenue. He had we signed a year-long agreement, which I would pay $710 split between two people, me and my ex-roommate. And about 3 months before the end of the lease, it was my ex-roommate said he was moving on to Texas to live with his grandfather, and so the landlord, Greg Brenzel, went ahead and made the executive decision that he was going to rent it out to somebody else, and didn't even give me the opportunity. Didn't even give me the chance to, renew my lease. Didn't even say, ask what I want. And so basically, I was going to want it to stay. I was going to renew it, but I was pushed out. So, all right, fine. It wasn't my decision. That was what he wanted to do, so I went ahead and did what he wanted to do. The lease was up the end of October, so by the 1st of September, everything of my stuff was out. I was completely out of the house, and that was it. Been living in my new place here, so I found a spot. I'm living by myself, a single spot here, single bedroom place, and, I honored the agreement. So I did exactly what the contract had stated that I would do. I paid my 12 months. I paid $4,200, $4,300, over $4,000, right? Within the year's time, and every time I would pay him, I paid him every month just because, that was what I agreed to. It was the right thing to do. I didn't have to, well, if you want this money, you better, dance for me, and you better do this, and you better do that. I paid him because it was the right thing to do. I paid him over $4,000. He's going to give me issue over $4,000, but he has a property deposit of mine for $350. So how come he, for $350, he's got a problem with paying me, a few $100, but several $1,000s I was good on. I paid him exactly, I was low maintenance tenant. The property is intact, the exact same way that it was found is how, that we found it, is how we left it. There's nothing wrong. There's normal wear and tear is the exception that the law gives, and it's well under that standard. So I should get my deposit back, my property deposit back. Now, something on top of this, when I had moved out, my roommate says that he needed some extra time. So he had to stay, I moved out and he had to stay an extra time until he could move out. Now, I talked to the landlord a week prior to this happening, and he kept on, calling my roommate, but couldn't get a hold of him, and he tried to tell me that I need to, pass some message along to him, and I said, no, that's between you and him. And for me and you, I'm, moving out on time just as exactly as I want. This wasn't anything that I wanted done. I never, chose this. This is what was, between my ex-roommate and my landlord. It was kind of thrust upon me. And so, I went ahead and did what I was supposed to do. Well, this son of a bitch, this fucking creepy-ass, slimy, grimy, weasel-looking fucking Republican, just fucking blood-sucking, capless, dishonest little snake, little slithering little fucking snake. So this slithering little snake, he says, he agrees, since you're going to move out, I'll give you your deposit, we'll do an inspection, I'll give you your deposit back. That's what he told me he would do. So I moved out, I called him up, I said, let's go do this inspection. And we were supposed to meet up on a Wednesday of that first week. And the Wednesday, he calls me up and says that he can't meet me. He says he can't meet me, and that he's not going to give me the deposit back, regardless. And I'm kind of like, what the fuck? Like, you said if I moved out, we'd do an inspection and I would get my deposit back, and now he's reneging on, what he had said that he was doing. This is not what he wanted. He says, it's a breach of contract. So it's a property deposit. It was intact. He said that he was going to do something, and he didn't do it. Well, I'm a little shocked by this because I trusted the man, and I believed he was going to do as he says that he was going to do. Well, he's a dishonest person. He's a dishonest person, and I don't know how to make a dishonest person do what's supposed to be done. He says, he wanted to set up the Saturday meeting where he would like have a police officer and a lawyer and all this other shit. Which is what he threatened, and I'm kind of like, I don't understand why I would go to a meeting like this. It feels like I'm getting jumped with a guy with a gun, and it could have worked out, but I went ahead and went to small claims court. There's only two ways you can make somebody do something that they don't want to do, and that's either through force or through intelligence. And through force, that would have only burned me further, so that wouldn't have worked out to my benefit. So I go to small claims. Now I'm getting to learn the judicial system. The judicial system actually seems to be the most powerful branch in government, because the judicial system is what works on the day-to-day regular routine. They're always issuing out policy and what, how people should behave and how they should act, and what the proper punishment for those people who behave and act in ways that they don't agree with. So the judicial system, I go to the Jefferson County, the courthouse downtown. I want to say 5th and Broadway, 5th and Jefferson, 6th and Jefferson. No, it's downtown. There's only one courthouse downtown, right next to the Justice Department, right next to the jail. And also where Occupy was, and the City Hall. It's all in the same block, right? So you go to the courthouse, and it's on the 3rd floor. As soon as you walk in the security place, go to the 3rd floor, and there's a sign there back in the corner there. You file your forms. You got to have all the names and addresses and the reason and what it is. You got to have your paperwork lined up, and then you fill out a form. There, you put it in, give it to them, and then they have a choice of serving the notice to the person. Now, all this, I don't know. It seems like a lot of it's guesswork, because I don't have his address. I looked up in a phone book. I give him 2 different addresses, and I told them to serve by certified mail, because you got 2 choices when you do when you serve, a summons to show up to court. When you sue somebody in small claims, you send out a summons, and there's 2 ways to do it. And one way is to do certified mail. And the other way is to get a sheriff to pass it out. Sheriff's about $50 to do through certified mail is about $10. I had 2 addresses. I wrote 2 addresses down. They only charged me for one, and it went to the wrong address. So what the address that was in the phone book, that address was not the correct one. Hopefully this other one is. But I think I'm just going to pay for both the serving them through the post office and with the sheriff passing out. The sheriff would know closer to the address of who the person is. There seems like there would have to be some way to get the information of, the address of the landlord. He owns property. He's got a, business. He's an insurance salesman. So, he's around here somewhere. It seemed like it shouldn't be this hard to be able to get a hold of this individual. I could just call him, and, I would get through to him. I could send him a text, send him an email, and that would work, but those don't count as official service of a summons. So the reason why I would do that is because I'm suing him for the $350, because small claims, you have a limit to $2,500. You can only try to get $2,500 and below. That's why it's small claims. You also are capped at 25 cases per year. You can only file 25 small claims cases in Louisville, Kentucky, or anywhere in Kentucky for a year. So only 25 times. Now the reason why I am going to spend the $50 to get the sheriff, even if it's $350, I've already spent $40. Well, you can also sue for the legal, to recoup the legal fees. So I'm suing for $350 plus the legal fees. So far it's $40. I feel confident in my case. I paid $2,300. It's a property deposit. The property is intact. There's no damage to the whole thing. I deserve that money back. That is my money, okay? I had considered, taking like a refrigerator and a stove in order to use as collateral, but I've also heard that those type of tactics have been frowned upon, and then people have actually been thrown in jail for doing shit like that. So even though he owes me $350, $350, and it's not, hold on. Okay, so he owes me $350. I paid $40, and I'm going to pay $60. So it'd be about $100 just in service fees to get a notice of court proceedings to him. Then on October 4th, at 8 or 9:30 in the morning, in room 308, somewhere in the courthouse, room 308 at 10 a.m. on October 3rd, we're going to show up in court, and there's going to be some sort of decision, and then we're going to go from there. And again, I feel confident. He says that he was going to do it. He was going to set up a meeting. He called me last week and said he wanted to set up another meeting. He doesn't show up. He's just a consistent pathological liar, and it's really frustrating because I did exactly what I was supposed to do. I paid him over $4,000 on time every time, kept the property intact. It was low maintenance. Nobody had to be, none of the neighbors ever called anything on us. He never had to come, check on us for anything. He did take our lawnmower one time and never give it back. He also didn't fix some of the things he said he was going to fix. The furnace was really loud, and there was no door in the shed in the backyard, so he said that he's going to fix those things, and he never did. But we were low maintenance. Those were things that we overlooked, and we could overlook, and so we did, and we just, did our thing. We lived our lives. He lived his lives. We were good tenants. And it's just fucking bullshit. It's bullshit that people are like this, that people want to just try to screw other people out of money. And then when people don't act the way they're supposed to act, what are you supposed to do? I guess you got to get, some arbitrary third party in between to come up with a fair decision. And a fair decision is for him to give me my money back. I mean, I wonder how many landlords have all the power anyways. You own the property, you can evict them whenever you want to. So when they don't do as they're supposed to do, what kind of legal recourses do we have? Do we have legal recourses? Will the judge side with me? Do the system just side with property owners regardless of what's going on? Is it sort of like slave days? Slave master's always right and the slave's always wrong. If that's the case, then that's ridiculous and that's some bullshit. He owes me the property deposit. He should pay me the property deposit back. He has failed to do so, and I don't trust the man, so I don't know what else to do. So that's my issues right now. I'm going through small claims court. I'm learning about the judicial system here in Louisville. See if it's effective, see if it works. And, hopefully I'm able to recoup my costs back and get, $450 back, which he should have just, paid me. He mentioned something about water damage. The last time he called and we were going to set up another date, so he mentioned something about, he's like, when you cut that hose, my washer, I couldn't untwist the hose, and so I had, cut the hose off and I bought a new hose and replaced it. And there's a slow leak, and so there's a puddle in there. Well, it hasn't sunk through, and there's not, permanent water damage there. It was a slow leak that had been there before. Like I said, there's no permanent water damage. The little bit of, it looks like water's been on the linoleum, so it's kind of curled up. But that was, like that when we got there. And that would be, that seems like that might be an issue he's going to bring up. So I had videotaped all this, actually. So I videotaped the entire house, showed that there was no property damage, that it's totally intact, totally as we had left it. And, it's really ridiculous and unfair that landlords can be so fucking callous and such dickheads when they would not respect their tenants if they treated, if the tenants treated them the way that they treat their tenants. They want their money on time every time. If you don't do it within 5 days, legal proceedings, the hammer is going to be thrown at you, the sheriff, and everybody's going to be called, and everybody and the mother's going to be called, and you're going to be thrown out in the streets. It's a way different ball game because you have their entire lives in your hand and all their property. Throw their fucking asses out in the streets. You stay out, and I don't care if you live or die. So landlords are never faced with those dire circumstances. So not only do they have all the advantages and the privileges of being elite property owners, but they also don't have any of the dangers or the possible failings that a renter would face. So it's frustrating. It's bullshit. I am confident of the process. I'd like to see how this process works out. I have to go tomorrow and get a service for the sheriff and also another address because they only send it to one address instead of two addresses. I found the phone book, but I'm not 100% sure if that's his actual address. There should be a way to actually find the address of the people that own that property, so I believe that's public information. He also, is a insurance agent, so he has an office and he works somewhere in Louisville. Greg Brenzel. His name is Gregory Brenzel. 319 Iowa Avenue, a little short, slimy, creepy, slimy, grimy, slimy and grimy and creepy, just a weird little fucker, just a weird fucking, talks like a dull, bureaucratic tone, like Ben Stein, as if that's the proper way, that's how people are supposed to talk to each other, as if like you say things in a polite way, then that somehow means, you're a good person. No, when you lie, that means you're a bad person. You can be all polite to the public or to me or to whoever you want to, but when you say you're going to pay me my deposit and then you said that you're not going to pay me the deposit, that's when you become a liar. And I can't, fuck a liar. Who could trust a liar? If someone's willing to lie to you, there's if they're willing to lie to you, how you can't trust a single thing that they say or anything that that they're going to promise you. They're a fucking liar. They lie. They don't believe in telling the truth. And that's Greg Brenzel.